going and how we're going to get.
Man, I should have taken some notes there. You might have to guide me through some of that. But yeah, let's start from the top. So Manny Abarca, Budget Chair, Jackson County Legislature. I got to start with saying if it's not in the budget, it's not truly a priority, right? Because that's how any entity dictates where the money goes is where the priority is. And so I think it's important that for the 5 folks who joined, we're active and ready to go and get to work, right? And so that's why you saw we had 30 days to budget this entire year. That's just the way the process works. We got the budget information about a week before we had to make decisions, and we started executing where we saw the greatest need. And what we chose was behavioral health, addressing mental health needs, and addressing the opioid epidemic, because that was the work that would literally save lives. And we looked in the county to find organizations who were already doing the work and wanted to maximize their efforts by getting the dollars out to the streets faster. So we allocated $1 million for behavioral health in 4 different organizations across the county in different areas, addressing different communities, multilingual in many ways. And then we also threw $1 million towards University Health opioid initiative to combat the opioid epidemic within Jackson County. 149% increase in fentanyl-related deaths per year, according to Combat. So we wanted to get this money out the door fast.
So you said that's according to Combat?
Yeah.
All right, because I was just looking at PBS last night, and that's on the national, it seemed like that's part of the national agenda, the things that you're talking about, fentanyl and mental health is very important. And $1 million seems like it's a lot, but it's not a lot when you're dealing with the problems that we're dealing with. Talk about, I would like to know how you are gelling with your constituents. And I believe this is the first time that we've had like 5 people of color or what have you on the legislature, and with Frank White heading things up. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, we're certainly history makers. We're the first minority majority legislature. And so it is an opportunity for us to carry the voices who may not always been at the table and sometimes may have been on the menu. And so we fully plan on galvanizing that strength and support, and we're leveraging it any way we can. So whether that be through budget priorities, through focus of the county and its work, and then directly to constituent services. We asked for more supportive staff to help assist us with community engagement, as well as programs that would help us be more similar to a state rep or city council person, to be able to take input and understand where that's going, relate it with data of the county, and then make good decisions with the finite dollars we have.
Tell me this, how do you feel working with this new coalition that y'all will be able to bridge the gap with the city and the state, some of your counterparts to make things happen in Kansas City?
Yeah, well, I know there's been somewhat of a contentious relationship between any entity of government, and for one reason or another, just been around long enough to have seen it and see how some priorities start and stop because of some of those things. And I think this new group, we are all in conversation and are anxious to learn and anxious to act to make sure that we're doing the best and the most efficient use of dollars. And so whether that be with the jail and trying to find collaborative opportunities there, or anything else that we're doing within Jackson County, we all have to work in tandem whether we like it or not. I think that the pandemic showed us that when we do work together, we're able to accomplish great things. We got to keep that momentum and spirit going on any issue we address as a community. And that's multiple cities, right? Not just KCMO.
All right. Off camera, we talked about a few things, and we talked about how this money is being spent. And I wish you reiterate, we talked about the roads and what have you, the trash pickup and all of that. Give our audience a wake up on the financial part of that.
Yeah. So we were talking about property taxes. because that's naturally the biggest and most concerning thing that folks believe that Jackson County does, right? I got to be clear. Jackson County sends out the bill, right? What's in the bills may be changing and dictating based upon where you live. The taxing jurisdictions that are being collected for you have a lot to do with the cost that you're paying, right? So if your school district passed several bonds and you believe in strong and great schools, that's awesome, but plan on being taxed a little higher for those things, right? Bond levies have impact. It doesn't just mean it goes away after a few dollars and cents get directed. It is a continual process. And so I think Jackson County sometimes gets a bad rep because we send out the bill, but the reality is we only keep a certain percentage of that, and the rest of it goes to all the different areas, right? So the dollars and cents of it all, if you want to drive your car on clean and safe roads and not hit all these potholes, then you got to pay your taxes. If you want the firemen to show up and firewomen to show up when there's a fire at your house, you got to pay your taxes. And so there's got to be a good and equal balance, right? And the same thing with the assessment department. Look, you can't just have a high value on your house when you want to sell it. If you have a high value on your house, it means your house is worth more. So you're going to get a little bit higher taxation. So we got to find that balance and perfect opportunities for us to make sure we're not taxing people out of their homes, because I think at the end of the day, that's the goal that we want to prevent.
Are you the first Hispanic person to serve on the Jackson County legislature?
No, I am the fourth, actually. But as you think about it, 4 since 1827 ain't that many.
Hold it again. I haven't seen any, so that's why I was wondering. Since 18 what?
27.
So, do you have any opinion about the proposal to put a new stadium downtown?
Not yet. I think what we're going to be asked as a county is whether or not we put it on the ballot. And to me, that is the greatest opportunity for folks to weigh in and engage the entire community. This is such a large decision to make that the public should be the ones that help make that decision. Because if it was 9 people in a room who made the decision, people are going to be mad about that. So I'll be one of the people to help put it on the ballot. It'll be up to the Royals and others to determine whether it's good, bad, or indifferent. I can talk about some of the positives that I can see, but obviously I can also talk about the dollars and cents of some of the negatives of that. So public financing is not.
I'm curious, Manny. What are some of the positives that you see?
I think they're talking about multiple billions of dollars of construction, right? And they're doing it in a way that would posture to say they're going to engage diverse communities through that. And I'm curious, because that's always a good conversation to have at this point. But when it comes down to breaking out the shovels and start digging holes, it may look very differently, right? And they're going to do it potentially in diverse communities or historically diverse communities. So there's got to be some accountability measures, and I think that's something that I plan on accounting for. But there's also this moment that we could have a once-in-a-generation construction project that could make multiple millionaires within our communities out of it. So it just depends on how we look at it and how we structure the deal in the process.
You know what I see in what you said? The most important part, as far as I'm concerned, is accountability. Because watch those stadiums get refurbished, and that should have made at least 10 brand new Black millionaires in the construction.
Right.
Did it. And
same with the airport.
Yeah, right. And so from being a person of color, looking at the situation in the 3rd and 5th district, I'm looking at things through a different prism. And I'm gonna leave it at that. I want to touch bases with you. Do you think the county has any say so, or can with the school district? Hard for me to even get that out.
Yeah. So I mean, I think I think there are two ways. First off, you send 4 school board members from 4 different school districts to the county. So we're going to think about decisions a little differently than the folks that may have just been continual elected officials and navigate the ladder. So that's one of the things that I think went into the decision making on prioritizing mental health. We saw the impact and effects the pandemic had on kids and the staff in the buildings, right? Knowing that there's just some trauma there that we've got to take some time to undo. And mental health awareness and engagement, access is so critical. That's why we prioritize those organizations. So there's one element. The other element is the levy component, right? I think people are starting to get a little bit more aware about levy setting and the process of electing good school boards, because if you elect bad school boards, you get bad outcomes. And those are our kids, those are our future. And so I think amongst all of those things, we're in the crux between engaging the colleagues that we left on the boards that we used to serve at, and talking to them about the process. I called the new treasurer of Kansas City Public Schools and talked to her about how a potential levy that we were going to set was going to impact them and the timing that they had to make their decisions. So it's just the relationships of the folks that we've sent here, I think, are dramatically different and going to be helpful when it comes to the processes of navigating all these jurisdictions, because it's many, many jurisdictions when you think about the county at large.
So with all these new sports events, and I'm seeing some things, something about Beyonce, or that's her name, I think. What do you have to say about all of that? It's like the downtown and all these different plans, us being in the Super Bowl, and what's your feeling on all of this excitement and putting the spotlight on Kansas City and how best we can take advantage of that to grow our city in stature?
Yeah, I mean, I think all of that is part of it. This historic minority majority is also part of it, right? This is progress in action. You're seeing the fruits of the labor that the past generations have invested in. It's coming true. We just got to keep pushing and make sure that folks are transparent and accountable about that. That's why when we started budgeting, although we had a very narrow window, I wanted to take the budget hearings out to the community to hear what their needs were directly, because I don't think Jackson County has ever asked the community, hey, what do you all need? And so we did that, and we found $86 million of requests and need, everything from small business stabilization to housing stabilization, minor home repair programs, supporting a local guy who was suffering addiction, who lost his sister, sadly, to mental health illness, who started a farm in the urban core and started inviting other folks to come and work through addiction on a farm. And so it's just random stuff. But the reality of the need is there and present, and we owe it to ourselves and the constituents who elected us to get out into the community and ask those questions and listen to the feedback.
Well, before we close out, is there any other thing that you would like to relate to our viewing audience?
I mean, again, I just have to reiterate, if it's not in the budget, spelled out in the budget, it is not a priority. And so I think what you're going to see in the next year from me as the budget chair is a real clear focus on prepping and doing proactive budgeting processes before we have to submit it, right? We had 30 days. I had truly 7 days to budget for the entire county. It should never be that way. We can't buy pins for our office because of the excuse we don't have a budget yet. That stuff is silly. We should not create those moments of crux for government. We should proactively plan. The other thing I will mention is this chair, Legislator Deron McGee, has accepted my request to create a diversity, equity, and inclusion committee. And so this committee will be focused on the work that we talk about, the challenges that we face in both communities and all communities of color, and try and be more representative within the county. So there's going to be some fun stuff happen out of there. I think there's going to be some riling up of folks in previous issues as we try and address the Andrew Jackson situation. There's going to be a lot that's done in that committee, and I am honored to be the first ever chair in that first ever committee.
Hey, Manny, we look forward to staying in touch with you so that you can stay in touch with our community.
Sure.
And as we always say, when you invest in your community, you're really just investing in yourself. Good night.
Amen.
Program is brought to you by the Kansas City Business Association.